We'll move to item E, first reading and public hearing of an ordinance to amend the master thoroughfare plan to add the proposed northern alignment of the future interstate highway corridor located north of FM 2105 and connecting from US Highway 87 on the west to US Highway 277 and US Highway 67 on the east.
This is an amendment to our thoroughfare plan. As you know, we have, as part of our comprehensive plan for the city, there is a thoroughfare plan or transportation plan for the long-range future of roads and highways within the city. And so this is an amendment to add the interstate corridor. I'll point out that this route is not something that city staff came up with. We're simply reflecting the route that is on TxDOT's plans for the northern portion of the interstate. All of the rest of the interstate corridor within town would be on existing highways, and so there's no new route other than this northern piece that would basically connect from 87 over to 277 and on through to 67. And so I know you'll hear some opposition, and while I appreciate the opposition of the neighbors in this area, again, we're simply trying to reflect on our future plans what TxDOT is deciding about this corridor. So in order to get the route of this changed, that would have to be done through the TxDOT process and the Federal Highway Administration as part of that interstate corridor. So we really have no control over where this is. We simply would like to get it on our plans so that as future development happens in this area, it's recognized on our plans. And for example, some
TxDOT had several public hearings and meetings on this proposed reliever route.
I believe so, and I'm not familiar with all of the dates of those, and if they may have been completed or there may be future public hearings still to go. I'm not 100% sure about that. But yes, this is a TxDOT process, and they've gone through. There were multiple alternatives that they looked at that looked a little different. They were all roughly in a corridor like this, but they had different options, and this was the selected option. And so again, if for example someone on one of these properties came in to develop a residential subdivision without this route being shown on our maps and on our plans, we would have no way to avoid somebody building a house right in the corridor. And so this is kind of a future planning tool to ensure that it's on our future plans. I think I've pretty much said all of this already. But again, this is reflecting it in our thoroughfare plan. We did send out notifications. This is an example where there are no required notifications to be sent out. We have historically always sent out to the affected property owners anytime there is a change to the thoroughfare plan that would affect their property. And so we've continued to do that in this case as well. I know that's a little frustrating for the property owners, particularly in this case. When it's a collector street or an arterial of the city, that really is your decision to decide where that goes. And so their input really can make a difference. In this case, again, we're just reflecting the TxDOT plans.
At this point, it's the TxDOT plan, which they have approved. This is really not something we have the authority to change.
That's correct. The only thing we could do is pass information back to TxDOT with any concerns that citizens have or that you all have. But the route at this point, I don't want to say the route's set, because until they start construction, it can always change in the future. But this is their current conceptual map for this route. Staff does recommend approval of adding this to the thoroughfare plan, as did the Planning the Planning Commission did not recommend approval. There was a tie vote 3-3 on a motion to recommend approval. They were sympathetic to the concerns of some of the property owners in the area, and so the 3 that voted against it weren't comfortable adding this to the plan at this point. So it does come to you with no recommendation from the Planning Commission based on that tie vote. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Other questions for John James? Karen?
Yes, please. John, if you'd go back, to the map that...
The notification map or the other? This one or?
No. The other. There you go. And so I see that the affected properties are parcel 11085 and 11097. Because the map is small, can you show us and the public?
Those
With
two
your-
properties you just
with your
mentioned
cursor.
are right in there.
And this is the property owner with the historic ranch that was,
I believe that's the property that you got the letter from. Again, there were other property owners that spoke at the Planning Commission, and I believe some of them are here as well, and they can probably point out which specific properties they're here to speak to.
potential timeline for the interstate route right away to actually be.
That would be a
No
text
idea.
dot question. Having worked on similar projects in the past, I would say anywhere between like 1 and 20 years. I mean, it's really no,
It won't happen in our lifetime.
Not in
Karen.
our lifetime.
It will in mine.
Well, now, Mayor, you may be right. You're so much younger than Karen and I.
this is very early in their process, and it really depends on federal funding and prioritization at the federal and state level. So it really could be, I suspect it wouldn't be less than 5 years for sure, and it could be 20 or 30 years for sure as well.
And what you are asking us to vote on has no particular effect on this homeowner at this time?
Not
No.
immediately. for
Not
sure.
immediately,
No.
at this time?
Correct. Really, the only impact on those property owners, if they were to go and develop their property as residential subdivisions or commercial development, they would have to pay attention to where that route is drawn so that they're not building things within that future route.
Other questions for John James?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Larry?
I'm trying to figure out how and what our voting on this does. Let's just presume that we vote it down. Does it make a single bit of difference in terms of what TxDOT has planned?
No, it does not. Now, I mean, obviously, that information would get back to them, but really, they have their own process to determine where these go and the timing and all of that. Really, the only impact would be we, the city, could not prevent development that might hinder that future route. And that's the main reason of having it on the thoroughfare plan, is so that future development in that area can accommodate that future route.
The strategic plan from TxDOT for the future I-27 interstate corridor is that individual communities would start their own projects. So we would start our reliever route project. At some point, Lubbock would have theirs done, Sonora would have theirs done, there would be one for El Dorado, one for Cristoval, Loop, et cetera. And then there would be a day where they start to connect the reliever routes to the actual development of the interstate. But the first plan is to create the reliever routes. So generally speaking, in your lifetime, you would see the reliever route development. You may not see the completed interstate, but you would see segments of that interstate being developed. And that's the strategic plan. Still no timeline. Further questions from council? Do I have a motion?
So move.
So moved by Harry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Tommy. We will now open it up for public comment. I know that there's some individuals here who would like to offer public comments, so please come forward, state your name, where you live, and add comment.
Good morning. My name is
Morning.
Charles Book. I'm from Miles. The land that I have under concern is on the corner of 208 and Red Creek Road. Do any one of you here have a special keepsake that's from your family? This land that I'm concerned about has been in my family since 1943. That's 79 years, 3 generations. My grandparents bought it and made it through the drought of the 50s with little or no help from the government. It's like a wedding ring, a special gun, a keepsake. It has no difference. This is no different than some of the old buildings that are here in San Angelo that we try to save. Both the land and those buildings are keepsakes. They are historical and believe that they have a desire to maintain our history. My family has already given land for the Ivy water line and the LCR a power line, both of which were bad deals. We've already given twice, really don't want to give again. The proposed interstate will cut this piece of property in about half. Some acreage on both sides of the interstate. My concern about the safety of my family crossing the interstate, not to mention what excess we will have to the other side. This farm has maintained conservation practices, and that interstate will destroy that, and it will cause drainage issues coming into the north side of San Angelo. Another concern is the trash. Oh my goodness, the trash that's coming off of the highways. I have a place that's beside Highway 67. About twice a year, we have to pick up trash. Bottles, corn sacks, diapers that are blowed out in the field.
Continue. Finish your thoughts.
There's an old roadside park there that the state has abandoned. People still use it for a dump site. I see some problems on Houston Hart, Bell Street, Main Street exits, Chadburn exits. All that stuff concerns me. When the Ivy pipeline came through, they damaged our keepsake. When the power lines came through, they damaged our keepsake. Now the state wants to break it in half. When they cut this thing in half, there's not an upside for my family. That's
Thank you. Please come forward. Good morning.
My name is Jerry Don Moss. I'm a Llano County Commissioner. And as you know, we have this school land right out there on 87. And I'm not real sure, it's not real clear if this is going to affect us or not. It looks like part of this property or part of this new road would go across some of that school land. And we are very opposed to it. The public hearings that TxDOT has had, we weren't aware of. I just want to let you know today, or this morning, that we are opposed to that. And Mr. Miller, I believe he's wrong. It does matter how you vote today, because if you agree to this, TxDOT is fine with it. I've stood up to TxDOT several times as a commissioner. I've been a commissioner for about 18 years in Llano County, and it does matter if you vote to stand up for your constituents and their property and their rights. So I would urge y'all to not approve this amendment on here and instead send a resolution or something to TxDOT opposing this change. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comment? No further public comment? All right. Then we'll take a vote on this item. We'll go individual by individual and take the vote. So we will start with Tommy,
Aye.
Harry,
Aye.
Larry,
hey,
Karen,
Nay.
Lucy. Aye. Mayor, aye. Motion passes 4-2.